What's up, everyone? Welcome to the live. Welcome to the live. It's been a little while. I've been on my grind on some other stuff. Taking a little break from the YouTube. Need to get back into the algorithm here. Let you guys know that I'm here. What's up? What's up? Share some news. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Let everybody know that you're here. Give me a comment if you can. Let me know where you're from. I'm doing my thing here in downtown Los Angeles right now. Going to share some news on Tony Buzbee. This is the plaintiff's attorney who's been suing Diddy, mostly Diddy. He had that lawsuit against Jay-Z also that's now dismissed, and he's in a litigation war with Jay-Z. But the news today comes out of a new case with Diddy, or not really a new case. This lawsuit has been filed against Diddy for a while, but we've got some new happenings from a judge. Leslie Curtis, Loma Linda, thank you for saying hi. We've got such a big California area here, but a lot of news going on. I know the political world, the stock market, the tariffs, everything that's going on, the world is kind of tumultuous right now. And hey, 5 years ago, I've seen all the posts that 5 years ago today, it was the Oklahoma City Thunder and Utah Jazz were going to play a game of basketball, but the NBA called it off. And that was like the beginning of the COVID era. And really, we've never been the same since. So I know March, there's a lot going on, but hey, it's March 2025. We are approaching March Madness. We've got baseball season coming up, and we've got a lot of news to get to regarding Tony Buzbee. This is the plaintiff's attorney, remember, who sued Jay-Z. He dropped the lawsuit against Jay-Z and Diddy on behalf of the 13-year-old girl who said that she was attacked at an after party for the Video Music Awards. But he still has a lot of lawsuits against Diddy going on. And there's a lawsuit that's been filed in the Southern District of New York where a judge actually just called him out. Let me see if I can pull up the order for you guys here. Get into the politics. How can 47 do a job so bad in a job he already had? Yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen what's going to happen with all this stock market stuff. But man, what a time to be alive with Elon Musk over there. Which, speaking of, here we go on his Twitter X website, sharing the order. This is from a lawsuit against just Diddy. It's Diddy and his companies. Jay-Z is not part of this lawsuit, but this is a Tony Buzbee lawsuit that was filed late last year on behalf of a man in Los Angeles who actually claims that he went to a Ciroc vodka party for that line of vodka that Diddy has. Diddy invited him. This guy says that he owns a business that rents out luxury cars and jewelry, and Diddy was a customer. So they had like a business relationship through that, and that Diddy called him out, or Diddy invited him to come over or to come to this party, and ended up attacking him. So this was filed back a few months ago, but the issue today is not Diddy's lawyers, but Tony Buzbee, the guy who's suing Diddy, is actually not licensed in the Southern District of New York, where this case is filed. So you'll see here that Ronnie Abrams is the judge assigned to the case, and he said it has come to the court's attention that Anthony Busby, that's Tony Buzbee, who signed the complaint and several other filings, is not admitted to practice in the Southern District of New York. And that's bad right there. But this is the worst part. It says, moreover, although Mr. Buzbee was warned several weeks ago in a parallel case that this conduct violated Local Civil Code 1.3, he failed to bring this issue to the court's attention. Okay, so the judge is saying no later than March 18th, you are to file a letter explaining why he failed to notify the court about this issue earlier and proposing next steps to rectify it. So the next steps typically would be pro hoc VJ admission. And if we get into this is really technical about, why, whether a lawyer's admitted in what court. And I think it kind of makes people's eyes glaze over, but it definitely affects whether he's going to move forward with these lawsuits. If he's not able to get actual admission to the Southern District of New York, all these dozens of lawsuits that he's filed against Diddy in the Southern District of New York could be in real trouble. And we've already seen this happen in the lawsuit that he filed against Jay-Z and Diddy that's since been dismissed. But here I have this in an article on legalaffairsandtrials.com. If you check it out here. He could just assign another attorney to go forward. Yes, Leslie, that's correct. And right now he has an attorney in New York who's doing these filings for him and is admitted in the Southern District of New York and is in good standing. It's Meghann Cuniff. I actually don't know how to pronounce her name, but let's pull her up here. This is the woman that Tony Buzbee has, who's been filing a lot of these lawsuits, or I think all of them. Her name's on like all of them for Tony Buzbee. But the idea that she would go forward with all the litigation, all the if any of them ever actually did go to trial, I think Busby would want to go forward with that, because what happened with the Jay-Z lawsuit is his lawyers were being really aggressive in their filings, we can remember, and brought up the fact that he wasn't admitted to practice. And the judge in that case actually was requiring him to show proof that he was admitted in the Southern District of New York. So we see this order on February 21st, and this is the Committee on Grievances, the Southern District of New York. And it says it's in response to Tony Buzbee requesting admission to the Southern District of New York on January 29th, 2025. And she says, per the committee's review of the dockets, Mr. Busby has appeared in cases in this court without seeking admission. Therefore, the petition is denied. In the event Mr. Busby moves for pro hoc VJ or regular admission in this court in the future, he must attach a copy of this order to his motion or petition. So that's a pretty serious order. And usually this is pretty standard, that given the fact that Busby is a lawyer in good standing in Texas, that's where he's from, and he's licensed to practice in Texas state courts. I don't know which federal courts in Texas he's admitted to, but he has said that he's admitted to the Eastern District of New York, which is Brooklyn Federal Court. And he's also actually licensed in New York State Court too. But that, as we see here, does not license him in the Southern District of New York. But it does mean that if he had applied for admission in the Southern District of New York, like before he'd filed all these lawsuits, I think it's pretty standard that he would have gotten it. I mean, there isn't any reason that he would have been denied it. But the fact that he waited so long and had all these lawsuits going on and has been, picking up all this flack and attention, then he goes and applies for admission. That was his big problem. And you see here, that's why she denied it. So there's another route he can go, and it's pro hoc VJ, and that's a term for a single appearance. And I see that a lot. Like anytime you have an out-of-state attorney, usually working a case, it's just a one-time thing. So they have a local sponsor, a California attorney or something, if you're wanting to appear in California courts, and they sponsor him for the pro hoc VJ appearance. And it's usually pretty standard that happens. So Busby can go that route here with a pro hoc VJ appearance. But the fact that in this order right here from January, it tells him that if he does that, he has to attach a copy of this order to his motion or petition. That's kind of an ominous sign that the judges might not look favorably on that. And again, like I was saying, the pro hoc VJ is usually just for a one-time appearance. Like you have one case that you're doing and you need to have an appearance in. But he has like 25 lawsuits against Diddy. So he has a couple pro hoc applications in these other cases. And Diddy's lawyers have actually filed opposition in some. So got some sirens going on in the background there. But not this one, but there are frankly so many cases for him to keep track of. But Diddy's lawyers are already being pretty aggressive and opposing it. So to have this problem with this case, it just kind of shows that. I mean, he could end up having to withdraw this case, just like he did with Jay-Z's case, because the judge in the Jay-Z lawsuit was telling him that he needed to show proof of admission to the Southern District of New York by a certain date, and he got denied, as we see in this order here. And then shortly before the deadline, he just dismissed the lawsuit with prejudice because he hadn't been admitted yet. So if we have that happen again here, I mean, it could just lead to, almost a domino effect on all these other cases. But I explain it here. This is an article on legalaffairsandtrials.com. But it says he's licensed in Texas since 1997, and he's been licensed in New York since 2019, but it doesn't cover federal courts in New York. So he's admitted in the Eastern District of New York, but he didn't seek admission to the Southern District of New York until after he filed about 25 lawsuits. And so they denied him because of that. That was the order that we just saw, the February 13th order. So without being admitted, he can't officially appear as a lawyer, but he's got this other lawyer who's working for him. And Jay-Z's lawyer, Alex Spiro, has said that Busby's lack of admission is basically him trying to avoid any kind of sanctions, because without being admitted in the Southern District of New York, he can avoid sanctions for any kind of these filings. And Busby has denied all kind of misconduct allegations, but just the fact that he didn't seek admission until so late, it just kind of begs the question of why. But so this was an article. Got another story up here on the it updates us on the ProHawk VJ. So Combs's lawyers are opposing Busby's ProHawk VJ application. And that's rare. Like I said, this is really pretty procedural, that an out-of-state lawyer who wants to appear in a court for a case would get ProHawk VJ admission. But like I said, there's so much going on with Tony Buzbee that I do think there's a chance he's going to get denied here. It hasn't happened yet, but we'll see. That Combs's lawyers said, in our collective decades of practice, undersigned counsel have never opposed a ProHawk VJ application, and we do not do so lightly here. But Busby's egregious misconduct warrants denial of the privilege of appearing in the district. So it's going to be interesting to see what the judge does in that. But the other case where there was just a filing today, that's a different case. But this filing right here is kind of a step towards what we saw with the Jay-Z lawsuit, where Busby ended up just dismissing the lawsuit instead because he wasn't able to get admitted. So the actual lawsuit that this case deals with is interesting. Like I said, let me see if I can make this bigger for you guys. This is for, again, this is a guy. Oh, it was in, I think I said that it was in New York in a tweet, but it was in Los Angeles, Ciroc vodka party in Los Angeles. And this is the guy, it was in 2002, and he owns a company in LA that rents luxury cars and vehicles. And so this is the lawsuit that could get screwed up because of what's going on with Tony Buzbee's license and whether he's actually able to appear in court here. But me pull up the lawsuit because there's so many lawsuits. And remember, the one that got so much attention, the one that got dropped and that was against Jay-Z, was on behalf of the 13-year-old girl that Jay-Z's lawyers have done a lot of research into, or investigators have, and said that she has a history of mental issues, that she's brought three sexual assault claims before and withdrawn them. And that if you read through her court filings and court records and all that stuff, you can see a lot of like really sad mental health history and that kind of stuff. So that's the accuser in the Jay-Z lawsuit. But there's so many other accusers that Tony Buzbee is dealing with here. I mean, he has, I think, at least 25 lawsuits in federal court and more in New York State court. So the case right now where the judge called him out is in this lawsuit on behalf of a man in Los Angeles who says that Diddy attacked him just in 2022 at a party in Los Angeles for Ciroc vodka, the vodka line that Diddy has. So he actually has photos here too, and he's anonymous in the as John Doe here, but he actually has photos that he says he took at the party of Diddy here. He actually has a photo of a vodka bottle, but yeah, he says he took the photos. Once at the party, plaintiff noticed many high-profile guests. Plaintiff took the photograph below, which shows Combs on a couch discussing the Ciroc business with other high-profile individuals. Multiple bottles of Combs' Ciroc vodka can be seen on the table. So it doesn't identify the other high-profile individuals, but you can see Diddy there. It says, during the event, Combs instructed plaintiff to join him in Combs' private office. Plaintiff went into the office where the two were alone. Plaintiff assumed Combs wanted to have a discussion about business, but obviously that's not what happened. He describes the assault here, but and this was just in 2022. And again, the way they describe the plaintiff here, who this is, I mean, it's definitely not the same as the woman who sued Jay-Z and Diddy and did the interview with NBC News. I mean, he identifies himself as business owner in Los Angeles. Let me see if we can find a good description of him here. And most of Busby's lawsuits all have this same top intro where they go over all of Diddy's history and some of the recent lawsuits against him, his criminal case and everything, and then finally they get into the original facts of the case. They have all his businesses named in here, but this is against Diddy and Bad Boy Entertainment. I have seen Bad Boy Entertainment is getting dismissed in a lot of lawsuits, but we haven't seen any full dismissals yet. But so it says plaintiff was a businessman from the Los Angeles area, an owner of a family business specializing in renting luxury cars and jewelry. Over the previous years, plaintiff had established a business relationship with Combs, who was a customer of his rental business, often renting vehicles or jewelry for himself or those in his entourage. So this is the case that could be affected by Tony Buzbee's lack of standing in the Central District. Yeah, here's the lawsuit here. But again, this is one of many lawsuits that Busby has against Diddy. And the judge today issued that order saying he basically just realized that Busby isn't licensed to practice in the Southern District of New York. So he needs to, and he called him out on the fact that Busby was called out on this in another case weeks ago, and didn't bring it to the court's attention in other cases at all. So that's the case where he has the Pro Hoc VJ application pending, I believe. But yeah, so a lot going on here. Again, this is the lawsuit over the Ciroc vodka party in Los Angeles. So this is just from 2022. That's one thing about all these lawsuits against Diddy, is they really run the gamut. I mean, we had some going back to 2000. We've got some in 2022, but Busby has so many lawsuits. I mean, it's incredible how many lawsuits he has, that all of them really could be affected by what he's doing with his lack of standing, not getting admitted to the Southern District of New York, when, like I said, I think he really easily could have, if he just applied in the very beginning before he'd filed all these lawsuits and attracted all this attention and everything. But the reason he was rejected was because they stayed in there that he had filed so many lawsuits without getting standing. It says right here, but the Southern District of New York's Committee on Grievances cited the fact that he'd filed cases without admission when it rejected his admission application. And they told him to include the order if he seeks Pro Hoc VJ admission in any case. So that right there could prevent him from getting Pro Hoc VJ applications. So basically, we haven't seen it yet. We've only seen it with the Jay-Z lawsuit, but he could end up ruining a lot of these cases. I mean, we could see a lot of these cases just dismissed with prejudice because he can't get admitted to the Southern District of New York, and he wants to save himself. I'm not sure about the with prejudice, because with prejudice means he can't refile, but I think it kind of just depends on the tone of the litigation and how much defense is going on in each case. But Diddy's lawyers have stepped up in this one case, at least, and filed opposition to the Pro Hoc VJ. So it's kind of remains to be seen what we're going to see here. But let me, like I said, this is the lawyer that he has working with him in Southern District of New York. And she is admitted, and I think theoretically Tony Buzbee could just have her take over these cases, but that's not what he did in the Jay-Z lawsuit. When push came to shove and he was up against a deadline to show that he was admitted to the Southern District of New York, he wasn't admitted yet, so he just dropped the case. Whereas, I mean, I guess he could have just withdrawn from the case completely. Probably not, because he'd already been signing filings and the judges were already addressing him in filings and telling him to do things. So it's interesting, the motivation on this. I've seen some people speculating on Twitter about, like, why would he be doing this and behaving this way and making these decisions and, like, jeopardizing cases that, you know, are potentially legitimate. I think there's so much focus rightfully on the accusations against Jay-Z, which there's so many problems with. Jay-Z's lawyers have really gone through and shown all the problems with that, but we haven't seen that kind of level of defense yet in a lot of these other cases. But you, like I said, they're not all the same. This case that right now appears to be in jeopardy, that's not against Jay-Z, it's just against Diddy and his companies, is the guy, you know, from 2022, and the guy says that he was attacked at a party, and just his background sounds totally different from the woman who claims that she was 13 and hanging out outside the Video Music Awards, and she got taken to a party and attacked by celebrities. Like, it just seems like, you know, perhaps the one that's kind of in jeopardy right now seems on its face a bit more credible than the other one. But it's just an example of the problems that are coming up. It's one of a couple dozens cases in the Southern District of New York, but the Southern District of New York is a really kind of it's called the Mother Court. It's like the oldest federal court in the country, and they are really, you know, hoity-toity over there. They don't like this kind of like billboard, you know, personal injury flyby lawyering. So he could be in trouble. We haven't seen a judge's ruling yet in the cases where he's applied for pro hoc VJ, which is like not the same as full admission of the Southern District of New York, but would get the job done for him. Like if he could get pro hoc VJ admission, that would solve his problems. But with the baggage of having to include that order that says, hey, you can't get admitted to the Southern District of New York, and then having Diddy's lawyers actually oppose it, it could pose some big problems for him. Savannah, yeah. I mean, on the one hand, like it's hard to say with these lawsuits, like because, I mean, to say that one's more credible than the other. I'm just saying that when you just look at the guy's background, I mean, they say that he's the owner of a luxury rental business, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, well, would he automatically have like all these, you know, mental health issues and things that the woman does? I mean, maybe not, but it could just be a different kind of case. But this is, yeah, this is the lawsuit here. But what's everybody doing? Thanks for tuning in here. I got to kind of get back into the YouTube game here and update you guys on everything. It does look like Diddy's trial is pretty well set for May. I did a TV appearance on Live Now the other day that here I'll play for you. I gotta update my channel since the Rocky trial, but wait a second here.
Includes new allegations related to forced labor. So what we do know is that the U.S. Attorney's Office there of the Southern District on Thursday submitted that new court filing that leveled one new allegation against Combs to add to his racketeering and sex crime charges that he's already facing and has pleaded not guilty to. Within this second superseding indictment, it updates the amended indictment back from January that added 3 unnamed women who were allegedly victims of his so-called sex trafficking enterprise. They say that Combs subjected those employees to forced labor under inhumane circumstances. To help us just to break this down and understand a bit more about what's happening there with this case, I want to bring in, again, legal affairs journalist Meghann Cuniff. Meghann, thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. Let's talk about it. We've been following this case, of course, since those raids happened last year, leading up to his trial date that's set to start on May 5th. Let's talk about the new allegations.
Yes, I mean, this really looks like the May trial date is on. I think a lot of people early on were expecting him to get co-defendants, perhaps more charges, but I think people were really focused on whether there would be more people indicted here and he would have co-conspirators who could possibly testify against him in trial. That hasn't happened, and it looks like it's not going to happen. And it looks like the May trial date is a go. So this is prosecutors getting totally ready for that. And we've already seen been a change in defense counsel. He lost one of his defense attorneys, not his main counsel, but one of the defense attorney's concerns, people have said, is that he thought that they needed more time to prepare for trial. But his existing counsel apparently doesn't think so. So they're ready to go. There is actually a motion to dismiss that's pending right now for the third charge involving transportation for means of prostitution. And it actually relates to Diddy's use of escorts. And the dismissal motion is saying that this is an unprecedented use of that, and that the law actually is rooted in racism and has roots in slavery. And they're making the point that Diddy is being prosecuted really in an unprecedented fashion under this. So that's currently being litigated. The U.S. Attorney's Office is opposing that, and there's a reply motion coming in soon from Diddy's attorneys. I'm not sure there's a good chance that the charge will actually be dismissed. And it's important to keep in mind that if it is, there are still two other charges to contend with, the racketeering for sure. So there's a lot that remains to be seen, but it does look like we are set for trial in May.
And that's going to be a huge thing that so many people are focused on. Let's talk about that trial just a little bit more. Set for May 5th. We know that Diddy is a celebrity. I mean, he's one of the biggest faces in pop culture and entertainment overall. It's going to be a jury selection process. And we've talked about this several different times with other cases, even the last one that we talked about with A$AP Rocky. What are your thoughts on how that process is going to get underway? How difficult is it going to be for that jury selection process when there is a person there in the room of such high profile?
I think there's been so much attention on this case, and then not only this case, but all the lawsuits against Diddy over the past few months, that it could be difficult to find a group of people that really makes the defense happy. And of course, the prosecutors are going to be emphasizing that it's not that people can't just have never heard of the case before. And I think it's unlikely that they could find people who have never heard of Diddy or never heard of the case, all 12 people or 15 people, including alternates. But the important thing is, can they find people who have heard about this but believe that they can be fair? And there's going to be all sorts of different things that both sides are looking for. But I think this case for sure will be a big test of the power of celebrity and what that could mean for a jury pool, for sure.
And it is he's one of the highest profile people, as we were just talking about. I mean, it's been interesting to see the response online. I just remember when it first came out that he was being indicted, when the house was raided, even Cassie's bombshell allegations that came out. It's been a long lead up to this point, so it'll be interesting to see how things start to play out. And you also mentioned his defense counsel switching up. It's interesting to see this as we're getting in the last few months heading into trial. I want to put up this that you also put there on that statement officially from his lawyer saying that he denies. Oh, this is a different statement. I'm looking for the one where he's talking about him leaving the legal team as well. But in the meantime, I wanted to ask you about that. We were talking about the changes to his defense. The New York City attorney, Tony Rico, is officially out as his lawyer. You said it was because he didn't feel he had enough time to prepare. Can you sort of go into a little bit more about that? And how common is it at this point, late in the game, to change up some of your defense?
There's been reports about various reasons that he withdrew. One being he did think that they needed more time to prepare, but I think there's also a lot of different views on case strategy and that thing. And really, I think it's important to remember that these are lawyers who are used to being the star of the show, including Mark Agnefilia, whose statement we just saw. So there could be some kind of behind the scenes, ego clashing going on with that. So, but I think it's important to know that the main counsel who's been with them this entire time is still on the case and moving forward. So.
Do we know what his main strategy is heading into these last few months? Is there anything else that they're able to, do you think, pull out of the bag there in the courtroom that might help this case? Because there's a lot of evidence as so far on the government side, as they're saying, to pin him to these charges.
Yeah, I think what we're really looking at here is a defense that's based on this being consensual. At least that's what we've heard with the first victim, who we know to be Cassie. The prosecutors are under an order to identify the other two victims under an attorney eyes only disclosure this week. So I think the consensual defense is going to be one that we're going to see pushed here. But it's hard to say without seeing really more of the evidence. We in federal court, we haven't had a preliminary hearing or anything like that kind of previews what they have. So it kind of remains to be seen. But it seems like his attorneys are full speed ahead getting ready here.
And it is going to be something that we're going to continue to watch here on Live Now from Fox. I do want to step away from this discussion just for a second. We also heard your name. It was mentioned as well in Tory Lanez new song. I think we have a post as well that we can kind of put up about it. But Meghann, you've done a fantastic job over the years covering some of these high-profile cases. And now, as you can see there on your screen, he mentioned you in not such a nice way in his new song, My Shayla. I got to ask you, though, what was your response to seeing this, and how have you been sort of responding to the newfound fame of being mentioned in a rap song?
Well, here we go. People have been asking me over the years, wait until you get mentioned in a rap song, and now people are encouraging me, oh, you need to come back with your own rap song diss. I don't think I have the skills to do that, but it's fun to see the internet kind of play out and take it away. They can kind of do their own thing with it, and I can kind of just sit back and watch. So that's kind of the fun of it.
Well, I think you're taking it very well. Again, legal affairs journalist Meghann Cuniff here to help us break down some of these headlines as it pertains to the Sean Diddy Combs case. Of course, it's going to be more things to come out in the next days and weeks leading up to the trial. Meghann, I hope you'll come back on with us and help us to understand those changes as they lead up.
Thanks so much.
All right, we did want to bring that.
Yeah, so that was just a couple days ago, and we haven't had a big update in Diddy's criminal case yet, but again, the civil cases are heating up a bit because he finally has some counsel that are making appearances and opposing Tony Buzbee. But the news today that I brought up, like I said, the judge calling him out saying, hey, you need to say what you're going to do about the fact that you're not admitted in the Southern District of New York. That was all the judge is doing. The Diddy's attorneys haven't done anything yet in that case. So this is the order right here from U.S. District Judge Ronnie Abrams and in the Southern District of New York. So there's been a lot going on. I know that Tory Lanez song was funny and kind of went viral on Twitter, but I just think it's so silly. But there's been a lot of stuff. I know I saw all the Drewski stuff about Drewski being added to a lawsuit in San Francisco federal court that names Diddy. It's like Drewski and Odell Beckham were added in there as plaintiffs, and it's just so trashy and raunchy and stuff. It's like I hope we're at the point where we know that just because a lawsuit is filed doesn't mean that everything in it is true. So let's take everything with a grain of salt, guys. But yeah, exactly. They denied everything. They both issued statements denying everything. I saw Drewski was saying that, he wasn't even famous back in 2018. He was like broke, living in his mom's basement. He didn't even know any of these people. So yeah, it just seems like these lawsuits can kind of just come out of nowhere. And then one thing I noticed in that Drewski lawsuit was because it was originally filed a few months ago, like late last year, against Diddy and just against Diddy and his companies, like so many of these are. And Diddy obviously is pretty occupied with his criminal case. Just recently, he's been responding to some of these lawsuits, the Tony Buzbee lawsuits, but he hadn't been doing anything in the San Francisco case. So these attorneys who are from out of state were able to get pro hoc VJ admission without a local sponsor. They just applied for it, and the judge said sure. And I mean, it was unopposed because, like I said, Diddy's lawyers weren't really doing anything with it. So they waited a few months, just kind of let it sit. Actually got an extension on the time they would need to amend the complaint. And then when they amended it, came out with that big bombshell complaint that's like totally detailed, like weird, salacious details, naming Odell Beckham and Drewski and everything. So it just seems so like, gutter feeder kind of stuff there. But there's been a lot of new happenings on the Diddy on the Diddy lawsuit front, but I was happy to jump in and keep you guys updated on what's going on with the Tony Buzbee saga. I imagine we're going to see some more filings in the Jay-Z case. To remember, Jay-Z is suing Tony Buzbee in LA Superior Court for defamation, and he's also suing in extortion. He's also suing him in Alabama federal court for malicious prosecution. And this is the lawsuit here that also names, it doesn't name the woman, that's the point, but the woman is a plaintiff in it, and it identifies her as Jane Doe. And the news on that recently was the judge is allowing them to summons her under an anonymous name. Because remember, in the very beginning, they opposed, Alex Spiro and everyone opposed her proceeding anonymously. But obviously they figured out behind the scenes who she is, her name. So they've been able to do their own research on her and get what they need. So they found out all this stuff about her, the mental health issues, the prior sexual assault allegations that have been withdrawn. So they don't want to just needlessly name her in these public filings, because of course she would be subjected to all this hate and harassment and everything. And obviously Jay-Z's lawyers, they're suing her too. They think she's a problem. They obviously think Busby and the lawyers are the bigger problems here. So we'll see how that turns out. But again, kind of the big news that we're waiting on is whether the judges in New York will let Tony Buzbee in. He's not getting into the Southern District of New York. He's already been denied on that, but he can get in pro hoc VJ, like single appearance approved for cases. It's just a question of whether the judges are actually going to allow him to do that. We haven't seen an update on that. Somebody says, thanks for the update. Busby helped Ken Paxton avoid impeachment, and he's super crooked in Texas. It's all theater. Yeah. I mean, gosh, he had said he had 125 accusers that all came forward just in the last couple of days. This was back in the fall when he started filing all these lawsuits. But it's going to be interesting to see how the Jay-Z stuff proceeds, because right now they've got that request in LA to the judge. They want to put Jane Doe under deposition because they've got an affidavit from an investigator who talked to Jane Doe and says that Jane Doe said that Busby was the one who told her to go after Jay-Z, and that her story originally was that it was Diddy and some other celebrities, but Tony Buzbee was the one who named Jay-Z and brought Jay-Z into it. And apparently this is on record. We haven't heard any of the recordings, but Jay-Z's lawyers filed an affidavit from this investigator in court, and then Tony Buzbee, or it's mentioned in the lawsuit, the Alabama lawsuit, and then that same day after that was filed, Tony Buzbee turned around and actually filed an affidavit from the woman, from Jane Doe, or a declaration saying she stands by her story, that she thought she had a valid legal claim against Jay-Z, but she withdrew her claim she agreed to drop the lawsuit because she was afraid of retaliation from him and his supporters. So where we're at now is Jay-Z's lawyers have asked the judge to let them take the woman's deposition and the deposition of Tony Buzbee to try to get to the bottom of everything. So we're just waiting responses on that, but we'll see how it goes. But thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Try to get me back in the algorithm here. Hit the like button. Give me a subscribe if you can. Let me know what's going on. I know I need to get back into doing these consistently. So I hopefully will see you guys soon. Thanks again for tuning in. Bye-bye.